Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So you take that.
Commissioner Wire,
Here.
Commissioner Digital,
Here.
Commissioner Corbin, Commissioner Shaw,
Here.
Mayor Lindsay.
Here. You have before you the agenda for this evening.
Motion to approve the agenda. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Seeing no appearances or acknowledgements, is there anything anyone wants removed from the consent calendar? If not, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the consent calendar. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Under old business, it's a public hearing for the temporary alcohol license for the Knights of Columbus's St. Thomas Gala, November 5th, 2022. Okay, is there anyone here that wishes to speak to that from the public? Seeing none, we will move on to number 1 of new business, approve the temporary alcohol license for the Knights of Columbus.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Approve the electrical system long-range plan. And that, Jameson, you want to start that?
The city had worked with DGR Engineering to complete a long-range plan for our electric system. So this plan takes into consideration future growth expectations and current electric needs to forecast what improvements is needed for our electric system in every aspect of the system. Some of the improvements that are outlined in this long-range plan include varying the transmission loop, several substation upgrades and improvements, and feeder conversions. The study also considered the needs of this system with and without TrueShip, since that's still a project that is up in the air and ongoing. It was able to give us some guidance on what improvements are needed, whether or not that industry comes to our community. So if they would move forward, there are specified improvements that be needed that we wouldn't be needed otherwise. I know Jason was able to make it tonight too. If there's any questions of a technical nature, which he'd be better at than I, otherwise I'll stand by for questions.
Well, and the other thing too is they're during this long-range plan, they're only planning a 2.5% growth. And so when we take a look at Manitou and Global Polymer and DSU and Foxprint, and that, to me, that's a conservative estimate, you know. And we're also talking about a system that a good share of it is 60 to 70 years old. So it's something in that does need to be planned for in the future. And that's so that we don't end up with outages from malfunctions and that we don't plan on. So Jason, do you have any more you wanted to add?
No, like I say, the biggest thing is.
Jason, if you wouldn't mind coming up to here so the people that are on Zoom and at home
Sure.
can hear better. Thank you.
Just for everyone, my name is Jason Lumber. I'm the city electric superintendent. So, but yes, the biggest reason why we're gonna do this is, like you say, to reconductor or bury the overhead loop, which is basically the feed for the town. That has been, as we all know from this last storm, that's our biggest weakness is the overhead lines. And if we can get those buried, then we'll have a lot less of a problem for the future. And give it everyone a little more efficient than redundancy, so.
Very good. Any questions from the audience? Okay, seeing none. Do we have,
How are we gonna, financially, how are we gonna face this? Are we gonna have to borrow money or can we cash flow it? Some of this stuff looks really expensive.
Well, one thing that the commission can have for consideration would be updating a rate study. We did our last rate study 10 years ago, and in 10 years in the utility world, that could be a long time. So one thing that we could look at for the budget for next year would be having a rate study. One thing that's important for all of our utilities to consider is generally we look at what the costs are for the improvements that are needed. And the first step in that is approving or creating these long-range plans. on each utility. And once we know what those improvements are, we can work with someone to put forward rate studies that make sure that not only are we able to collect revenue to complete those improvements, but that different customer classes are paying for their appropriate shares of the revenue.
The other thing that I looked at is they've got it in 3 phases, but those 3 phases are over 10 years. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you'd be taking care of 1 phase in 1 year. So the cost may be able to be spread out depending on the, which part of it is done in a given year.
Yeah, I agree, some of it can, but some of it would be awfully hard to
Mhm.
spread out.
We do also have our gen plan that will come up or follow up with our debt here in the nothing sure as well. That
Mhm.
might correspond well with looking at new debt.
And just a little more clarification on the gen plant. That was something that was established over 20 years ago. And it is currently leased to Basin. And Basin basically in that, makes our payment and that on the lease. So once that debt is paid off, that will also generate, that lease will generate income for the city to also help take care of some of these projects. So. Any other questions, comments? If not, do we have a motion on the study?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the DGR engineering long range plan.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Approve change order number 1 for the gen plant upgrades, generation plant. Jameson.
Do you have a handout I'll pass around if Kelly can have them at the end for anybody in the audience who would like to have a copy? The city has selected Harold K. Scholl's company to implement improvements at our gen plant, and in coordination with that project, a change order is needed. This would add communication ports into the improvements so that it can correspond with our Angascada and East River interfaces. The further option 1 and option 2, staff recommend implementing option 1. Option 2 has some negligible differences which we don't believe are needed at this time, and option 1 would meet our needs. Additionally, there is a remote access add-on that'd be a one-time payment of $1,800 and $465 a year. That would allow the Scholl's company to have remote access to the system when we need assistance. It wouldn't give them control over the system, but it would allow them to see the screens that we're looking at rather than having to pay to have this company come in from out of state. If we ever need assistance, we'd be able to have them do it remotely. So staff recommend implementing option 1 along with the remote access add-on.
Questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion?
So move.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion clarified. Motion passed. Number 4, approve expense of $9,000 for the water plant equipment reserve for the ladder upgrade to the water clarifier.
This project is to look at designing to remodel a vacant building on city property to be used for the water department for their expanding needs. A little bit of history. A few years ago, the city did a design process and took out bids to have improvements. And
Here,
ultimately-
Lionel. Here's he's on the
You're
item
on
right
mine.
above that.
Might want to head off.
Yeah, the
Yep,
ladder.
yep.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're talking on the left.
Okay, the ladder. This is a little bit simpler item.
Okay.
Thank you, Sonia.
Yeah.
The rest of you are gonna let me continue, but I know Sonia's a trooper. Thank you.
I was wondering where you were going.
$9,000 from the water reserve. So there are some 2 ladders that are needed for both the clarifiers. The staff would like to have $9,000 reserves, but 1 ladder in this year with budgeting for the second one for next year. It's not a significant amount, but it isn't something that's included in this year's budget. So we'd like to have approval to move forward with that $9,000.
So move. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now you can continue.
Okay, we're on the IBW MOU, right?
No,
we're not.
Okay, all right.
Designer.
Water
Designer, got it. So as I was saying with the water building a few years ago, there was designs and ultimately it was decided not to move forward with the project that time. It exceeded the budget that the city had anticipated. Shortly after, the plans for the city hall and police station were to be in that location, which would demolish that building. And there would obviously have been no need to remodel for the water department. The city would have then needed to look to build a new building for this purposes. Well, with the current plans to relocate the city hall and police station project, this allows this vacant building to be repurposed once again for the water department. So this is services for Design Arc, which would allow them to update the designs from last time and then carry us through the bidding process. We had removed the construction administration, which was a $5,000 amount, as our engineering department felt that they could handle those services. So the total amount would be up to $20,000 to Design Arc to update the designs for that bill.
Any questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion?
Sorry.
So we got a first and a second there. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 6, approve the IBEW 2021 CBA and memorandum of understanding.
We have 2 actions we're looking for related to this topic. I'm gonna pass out a handout to supplement this as well. First, I will handle the CBA. So we have collective bargaining agreements with 2 different collective bargaining units within the city. One is the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, 426. Last year, the 2 sides between IBEW and the city failed to reach an agreement on the contract on the CBA, and so ultimately was an impasse. Those proceedings take lengthy time, and over the past 8 months or 8 to 10 months, we have gone through those impasse proceedings, including both fact finding and unfair labor practice hearings, and ultimately have come back to the table to finalize the collective bargaining agreement. So this agreement implements some changes that we had done to employees, only for employees last year, such as wage increases, and also it finalizes some changes that we had given to all employees, including IBEW members. That includes changes to boot allowances, to holidays, and some other minor changes. In particular, when it comes to wages, this would give the employees the same increases that other employees received at the end of fiscal year 2021. The Schedule A that is in the CBA attachment was kind of the old version of looking at it. And then there was also in your packet an Excel sheet looking document that had a lot of color coding. That's going to be the official numbers we'll be using for the CBA. The red numbers are the ones to be included in the contract, and the black ones are shown just for calculation purposes. To simplify things, the handout I handed out for Schedule A would show the titles and the pay that corresponds with each of those positions that would accompany the CBA document. I will pause there and see if there's any discussion on that first action.
Questions, comments? This has been a process that's been ongoing, and a lot of effort has been spent on both sides to reach this agreement and get to this point. So it isn't something that, just happened over 1 or 2 days. It's been a long time coming, and I'm glad to see that it's arrived and is moving forward. No questions? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the IBEW 2021 collective bargaining agreement and MOU.
We have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Then you want to cover the MOU?
Yes, the second action as needed is a memorandum of understanding between the 2 parties. The outstanding issue is the pay for employees since the impasse occurred. So from December 19th of last year, that was the first day of the first payroll of 2022. Every other employee at the city had received the 3% cost of living adjustment and the potential 1.5% performance-based increases. And then those employees, all other employees also received the mid-year increase in July of 3%. So this MOU establishes that the members for IBEW will be getting retro pay for the pay that they did not receive on those amounts up back to those dates.
And when we say the amount that they did not receive, it was just the increase that other employees had received. So,
Correct.
Did you bundle those to keep the agenda one page?
I am not that smart. No, it was just the way we phrased it.
do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 7, adopt resolution 2022-49, approve a plat, lots 1 and 2 of the Highland Edition.
Generally, we approve plats that have gone through the planning commission in the consent calendar, but we know this has been a topic that's been of discussion at multiple meetings. So we pulled the approval of the plat down to the new business area. So this action is simply to approve a plat that was requested from the landowner to create lots 1 and 2 of Highland Edition to the city of Madison. Of course, this would be the property that the city is planning to use for the city hall and police station construction. Lot 1 in the plat would be the area the city plans to purchase, and lot 2 would be the area that the current landowner plans to keep to reside in. The plat was approved by the planning commission. Ryan, I'm assuming unanimously?
Yes.
Unanimously by the planning commission last week.
Yes. Questions or comments? Do we have a motion?
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 8, approve the purchase of lot 1 of the Highland Edition for construction of the future city hall and police station.
With the plat approval, the city is now able to purchase lot 1 of the Highland Edition for the construction of the new city hall and police station. We held a public forum last week to try to answer some questions and get some more information out to the public, which I felt went pretty well. We've had also discussion at a couple different commission meetings, and of course it's posted on this agenda. The simplest way to move forward would be to have action from the commission authorizing purchasing land up to a certain amount, and that would allow the mayor and staff to finalize terms of agreement for the purchase agreement to move forward. The big item there, of course, is to authorize up to whatever amount the commission feels is appropriate. Previous conversations with the landowner were to purchase this, remember how many percent, 7 acres or so property for
7+, yes.
for $250,000. I know that we've made it clear to the landowner that he's going to be responsible for connecting the new lot 2 to city utilities as needed. So there might be some negotiation to make sure that we are able to purchase it from him, because he needs to make sure to have the money to make those connections as well. So I would recommend an amount slightly higher than $250,000 to allow the mayor and staff to negotiate. 265, I think would probably be.
Questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion? Okay, Marshall, please come forward for the public.
So you are going to approve up to 265?
That would be my recommendation to ultimately for the commission. Yes,
What's the other 15,000 for?
it's a little wiggle room to negotiate with landowner.
I thought we had it all agreed. Mayor Lindsay said he had it all taken care of 250.
Well, that's the ballpark we are in, and so what we're want to do now is just get it tweaked. And so that's why we're saying up to. And that, will it get to there? Don't know, hope not. But there are some other things, when you deal with contracts, and you've done that, there's some tweaking in that gets in there. Everything's not set in stone until it's signed, sealed, and delivered.
Have we
Other
thought
questions?
about, yes, have we thought about what we're going to do with the house?
In my mind, and this is just strictly mine, it would be offered for sale to be moved.
I guess the suggestion would be maybe ask Midwest home movers. I know at one time when I was dealing with FEMA buyout, he was really interested in a house that we were just gonna destroy. I mean,
Yeah, I would prefer not to destroy it. You know, I've already had people ask, say, well, could we bid on it, because it's got a beautiful garage on it, I think so. This is just my own thought, and that is, I would not want to see it destroyed without offering it for sale to the public to be moved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Questions? Comments? Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve purchase of lot 1 Highland Edition for construction of City Hall Police Station up to $265,000.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 9, approve animal control contract.
Some time ago, the commission approved to advertise for a contract for part-time animal control services. We do have a full-time employee who covers animal control, but of course, there's going to be a lot of responsibilities on nights, weekends, and holidays. And this part-time contract would allow us to have services for somebody that can take approximately every other weekend, or at least some time off of our animal control duties, responsibilities, so he's not having to be on the clock 24/7, 365. So now we had advertised it, we have received an applicant per se, and that applicant is Kester Dahl, who also happens to work for the city. And so the contract here would compensate $400 per month as a flat fee. And then it lays out the other agreements for this contracted position for animal control part-time services.
Questions or comments? Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Approve SF partnership marijuana application and authorize the mayor to sign Form E, local government compliance certification. And Glenn Youngman is here.
Oh, perfect. Background on this. The city had received application for a cannabis dispensary from SF Partnership. The location would be at 1119 John Deere Circle, Suite B. That'd be out in our industrial park. The city has established up to 2 establishments, 2 licenses for each establishment. There's 4 types of establishments. This one would take one of our 2 dispensary applications or licenses. This is the first application we've received that has made to the point of approval. At this point, it would move on to the state, and I assume that they've got some things that they would check over to make sure that things are all correct. I think that's all I know. Tanya, you have anything to add?
Glenn, would you mind coming up and enlightening the commission?
I don't know how enlightened I can make you. This is one of several dispensaries that we are opening up across the state. I represent Nolan Dakota Natural Solutions out of Wessington. We have been harvesting medical grade cannabis for about 12 weeks already. We are strictly an organic facility. That's all this facility will sell, is strictly an organic product. We just recently received our manufacturing license and we'll start manufacturing products within about 10 days.
Where does this cannabis comes from? Wessington?
Yep, 170 people. It's in a public school, retired public school building.
That's just about a third of the population up there.
It's pretty close. 26,000 square feet. We're about half filled out. We'll be full probably by the end of the year with all our build out in there. So.
Questions, comments?
Just a comment from me, I guess I spoke with Chief Meyer about this. In this process, there's background checks done and everything was crossed. The T's were crossed, the I's were dotted, and so he didn't have any concerns with that. I think, after this if it assumes it passes here, it'll go to the state and have another background approval process, so. With that, I'll make a motion to approve the SF Partnership marijuana application and authorize mayor to sign Form E, local government compliance certification.
Second,
Okay, we have a motion and a second, but I was also gonna open it up in that. Is there anyone from the public that has any questions?
I've got one other question. So of the pending approval, assuming it moves forward in a timely fashion, what's your timeline for construction, I guess, and
The building that we're talking about is Troy Fox and his wife's building out there in John Deere Circle. Visiting with him the other day, sounds like it'd be after the first year before the building will be done.
okay, so then I assume it'd take you some time to get your end.
Yeah, we're pretty quick. I mean, if the building's done and since we will be a new tenant, they'll be able to construct it probably to our needs. So when it's done, we should be ready to go, depending on the state.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else with questions? Not? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 11, review the nonprofit funding requests for 2023.
Each year, the city provides funding to different nonprofit organizations. Some of these are close partners of the city, such as LAIC, the Chamber, and First District, which is our planning district, which provides a lot of services to municipalities. This year, the 2023 request is for $447,425 in total. That is about a $13,000 increase from last year. I'll turn over to Sonia or anybody else. Increase of about $13,000 from last year.
Oh, yeah, I say it. I'm looking at that.
For the most part, most of them have requested the same thing that they requested last year. There are two that significantly increased theirs. The Domestic Violence Network. They are planning some additional expansion. They are full up and struggling to keep up, putting people in hotels when they need to. And their grant funding is not covering all of their expenses. If they use the city's funding for things like helping people with their initial deposits and stuff to get to obtain housing on their own. And a good portion of this will be going to their build out, which is in their basement, to put more apartments and stuff in there to house people. The other area, and theirs went from 8,000 to 15,000, so approximately 7,000 to help them with that build out. The other one that had a significant increase was the Interlake Senior Citizen Center. And
Mark and Jeannie are here.
yeah, if you want to come up here.
Would you want to come up and speak? Okay.
I guess the reason for the increase this year was over the past several years, the senior citizen building has been underutilized. It's just been sitting there and it's basically just been used for dances on Friday nights for the senior citizens. And since I started with the Senior Citizen Center, I got old enough to retire, and I got on board with it. And it was just a building that was really underutilized. And the dancing is great, but that doesn't pay the bills. So they had kind of closed it up in the past. It didn't rent it out or anything, but we're doing some changing there. And we have bridge players coming in now, and a balance group from the hospital is coming in, and we're charging them a certain amount of money. We're just trying to structure that as to what's fair for a balance group or for the education group for the senior citizens. And now the Legion is kind of on board with us, and they may very well start. In fact, they're having a Legion meeting tomorrow night, and was there last month. It works out well for them because right now with the Legion meeting upstairs in the armory, there's narrow stairs there that are quite steep going up, and they have some members that just can't join their meetings. And so the Senior Citizen Center is ground level. They can walk in, and so it works out good for them. So I guess we're just, over the years, they just haven't had the money to keep up with the building maintenance on it. The siding's in tough shape and the bathrooms are kind of run down, and I mean, it just hasn't had the maintenance and upkeep that it needs to have. There's some windows that need to be replaced, and there's just a lot of things that I don't think it's had a new drop of paint on it in years, you know, so that is the reason that we were asking for more money this year than before. So I just want the place to look a little nicer for the senior citizens and just do some updates to the building.
Would that $5,000 be enough? Or do you need more than that?
Well, we're also going to be asking for some money from the United Way, you know, and so I don't know what it's gonna cost to try and bring this building up to speed as where, you know, the simple things like fire extinguishers hadn't been touched in 5 years and stuff, you know, so there's some things that's just, you know, it's gonna take a certain amount of money to bring it up to speed. So I guess that's why we upped it this year.
I could interject. If you need me to come up.
Please. Yeah, that's for the benefit of people, you know, at home, so that they can
So you
hear
can see
better,
me.
because the microphone's right here on the machine.
Well, I'm the treasurer on the, for the board out there. And it was hard to know how much to ask for. Because there's so many areas that need improvement. And so we can't begin to do it all in 1 year. And so we thought, well, what's a good place to start, and not knowing like what the city is able to give, because we knew it was significantly higher from what they'd asked for in the past, which was basically, can you help us pay our
The
bill?
electrical bill.
Right, that was basically what
In
the
the
money was
past, in the
for.
past, what you've kind of helped out with through the city was to kind of help them keep the doors open, keep heating the building and keep the lights on. You know, that's kind of what it was, but it's, at some point you have to start sticking some money back into the building or you'll lose the building. It's just, you know.
So
it's-
as we reviewed the minutes previously, it was like they wanted new carpet back like 10
Yes,
years
correct.
ago, and they
Yes, it-
still have
Yeah.
not had new carpet since.
Yeah, so they kind of kept kicking the can down the road, you know, and so I guess that's where we're at, is we just want to start fixing it up a little bit.
And I met with Mark and Jean.
Do you have the ability to increase that?
Yes.
We wouldn't be asking for any action tonight. So this breaks this portion out of our budget for general review and discussion, but staff can be directed to what numbers you want in there. The official approval would be with the budget ordinance in a few weeks.
I'd like to see that senior citizen go up to 15,000. There's, you know, I came in contact with some people that just moved to the community, and that was the one thing that they said. They just wish they had more senior citizen interaction and then things like that. So I just think that, you know, we gotta make sure we take care of those people as well.
I have a couple of questions maybe you could help with. One, would you envision this increase being a ongoing one each year as you come to the city, or is this a 1 or 2 time increase to help with some?
I would hope
one-time
that I would hope in the future that it can kind of self-sustain itself, you know, as different, you know, different things come into the, you know, building, and, you know, I don't know where it's all gonna go. I've had, you know, hundreds of ideas of what we could do out there. But there's no program coordinator or director there now. So I don't know what it can all be used for, and, you know, where it's gonna go, but I'd like to be able to see it self-sustaining at some point, you know.
Sure. What are your other sources of funding?
You just heard it.
So like the $2,000 from the city, is that all the revenue?
We get
that
some money
gets?
from the city, and we also asked the United Way for some monies, and that's been their 2 primary incomes, I guess, other than their dances on Friday night stuff, but they just barely cover what it costs for the bands, you know, and so they just haven't had the money to put anything back into the building. Yeah, and in the years past, they had work bees and stuff, but right now, someone said, well, let's get a work bee together. they're elderly people, and really can't have a work bee with elderly people and ladders and, you know, it doesn't work too well that way, but we'll do as much of the work we can on our own. I'm kind of excited about the Legion coming in, and possibly, you know, maybe some of them guys or some younger guys, you know, maybe get a work bee together and do some of the siding and stuff ourselves. I'm a little handy with some of that stuff, so.
We have lots of kids that would have to do service learning project hours, and things like that too. So you let me know if you need some help and we'll see if we can get you some help.
Mhm. Yeah.
So kids to school.
It was an underutilized building, and I think it's just, if we're gonna have to kind of fix it up and use it or lose it, it's, you know, so.
I'd rather see us invest in it and help get it back where it needs to be.
Well, and when Mark and Jeannie first met with me and that, the paperwork, keeping it as a nonprofit was back, what, about 7-8 years that we had to bring everything up to date, you know, to get it legally back on the books and that in the state of South Dakota. So they put a lot of effort into it, you know, since they've started working with it. So, and again, already it's starting to get used more now than it has for quite a while. So it is great. Mhm.
It's awful hard to do it on $2,000.
It is. Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
Is there any opposition to that change? Just verifying. Okay. Staff can make that change to that. Any other questions or comments from any of the other entities? Thank you guys very much. It's great to learn more about you.
Eric, did you have anything you wanted to add since you're here? Okay. Do we have anyone else in that from one of the organizations here? Yes,
I'm not sure where you're at the agenda.
we are on the donation requests and that from the nonprofits in
Okay.
town.
I'm Julie Brew. I'm the director of the Lake County Museum.
Would you come up here and that, and the reason is this here camera and that has the speaker on it for those people who are listening online.
Yes.
If you introduce yourself, Julie, and
Okay. My name is Julie Brewer. I'm the director of the Lake County Museum.
Yeah.
And do you want me to explain the nature of the request?
please.
Okay, we have, we usually have gotten $6,500 from the city on an annual basis. Last year we did get, we're also granted another $5,000 to update our lighting in the museum, to go from fluorescence to track lighting to an LED track lighting. This year, we are requesting an additional $5,000 to continue our programming coordinator position and to continue programming within Lake County. Last year at this time, we didn't have a program coordinator. And we had 700 people that we reached within the county. We received a South Dakota Humanities Grant for that coordinating position. And that money is coming to an end. It was an ARPA grant. And this year, we are now we have served 2,200 people in Lake County. So we find it's an extremely valuable position. It gets the word out about Lake County history. I think it also shows what a valuable resource the museum is. And if we are able to continue with this position, we have done history happy hour. We have reached ages from preschool to senior citizens. We do programming at Bethel. We have high school interns from Madison High School. We're getting a better foothold within DSU. We have interns from there. We're doing programming. This week, we're doing a program that targets kind of 15 and up, kind of a haunted tour, and that's a difficult demographic to bring into a museum setting. So the other things we want to do, I'm really looking for this position. I'd like to get the Lake County schools involved in National History Day. And that's a pretty big effort. It's more than I can do on my own. But we have a regional competition in March. And county schools used to do that before COVID. And now they're not. So it's important to get the students in to understand the resources, the primary resources that we have. And critical thinking skills, analytical skills, and to continue the sharing the history of Lake County.
Very good. And so the amount that you're asking is 11.5?
Yes.
Okay, and we have it right here. So, very good. Questions or comments?
I'm very impressed with your ability to show up to the meeting right when you're.
Your timing was perfect.
I'm so sorry.
No,
I'm
that's fine.
sorry
No,
about that.
no apologies.
No, don't
It's your
apologize.
superpower. There's a few people in this room
Yes.
that could learn something.
Any other questions I can answer?
Questions at all? Thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you for listening.
All right, and so that one we already have on here for next year. So. Any other questions or comments?
On the planning district, I'm a little baffled that they're on this list. Why aren't they just part of the planning department's budget? I mean, isn't it a membership so we can?
It is, and when I look back, it's always been there. Do I have a preference? No. It could easily go under dues and subscriptions and be eligible.
Because
as for it.
it just feels like a donation with it being on this list versus, I mean.
Oh, first district?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't answer why it's there. It's
And I would agree, you know, since it's an organization and that provides services for us, and that, you know, I think we could find another location for that.
sounds good.
That may be something we want to look at.
That's
For
just
those
me
who are
being
not
a-
familiar with First District and that aids the city in funding and planning and does a lot of the legwork and the paperwork and that for some of the projects that we have going on in the city. So it is an integral part of city operations annually. Hey. On this one here, are you asking for a motion on this one? No, okay. So we have done number 11. We'll move on to number 12. Update on the Madison System Improvements Project.
Thanks, you guys.
And Ryan? Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Mayor. Included in your agenda packet was a project flyer with some maps and photos of each of the projects that I plan to give an update on. Those projects are the Northwest 9th Street Union Avenue project, of which Winter Contracting is the contractor. And the rural development projects, those are 1A and 1B, and which J&J Earthworks is the contractor, and phase 2, where Homey Inc. is the contractor. Not shown in this flyer is the water tower project. I wasn't certain I would have anything to share, but I do. And so with that, I'll go right into regarding the tower. I recently received word from the contractor Caldwell Tanks that indicated they will be starting the tank repair and reconstruction yet this fall, and they now have started that. Thus far, they've shipped out 3 of 5 material trailers to the site, so it's well underway. In July, they had reordered the steel, and there was some uncertainty on when they could get that. And they have it now, and they have themselves put on the schedule to complete that work between now and the end of November. At that point, they'll put the project on a hold during the winter time. And then in about May, that's when they would paint the tank on the ground. In June, they would jack that up. July, they would paint in the air. And then the under slab and slab install would occur in August. And finally, the construction of the interior building and the site work would be somewhere between August and October, which would put them in line for substantial completion around November and final completion around December. This timeline has been my best guess thus far. And now it's been confirmed by Caldwell's submitted schedule. So that's finally moving forward. The Northwest 9th Street Union Avenue project, the work scheduled for this fall is showing the red. We've named that phase 1. As I've mentioned previously, that phase 1 area is changing a little bit. We're not going to go through and do the curb and gutter at Chicago Avenue for the ease of for the sake of school traffic. So contractor thus far has completed all the water main installation, all the sanitary sewer installation, and has substantially completed the storm sewer structures and pipes. There's only 3 laterals and boxes left. There's some utility conflicts we're working through right now that are being worked on. They've slowed progress slightly, but we're hopeful that they can get through that quickly. In addition to the production on the utility side, Zacharias Construction has winter contracting subcontractors made significant progress on the roadway between Highway 81 and West Avenue. They have all of the fabric and gravel installed to where future Catherine Avenue will be. In the next 2 weeks, they plan to complete all remaining storm sewer and then have Zacharias right behind them to prepare the roadway for hopefully both curb and gutter and asphalt paving yet this fall. This is obviously so dependent on weather, but we'll continue to try and push the project along as quickly as possible while maintaining the high standard that the project deserves. Temps like today certainly don't make it easy to predict, but we're going to try hard to get this project done. On the next page, there's some photos. Those show kind of some examples of the work that remains and the work that's been completed. You can see the storm sewer pipes and boxes there. And then the picture on the top there shows the completed base course installation and a storm sewer flared end. The next project on the next page is phase 1A and 1B. Phase 1A is shown on the map on the bottom. That project just has some punch list items remaining, and not much has occurred on that since Weston last gave a project update. Conversely, the last 2 weeks on the phase 1B project, which is the top map, the contractor had a big milestone. They have all of the utilities now installed. So they'll be working on complete and finished grading where there is curb and gutter, and then working on the roadway where there's not curb and gutter, preparing those streets. Landowners have probably noticed staking and string lines up on their streets, which has kind of been in the way, impeded their way into the driveways, but I think the contractor's been pretty good about keeping access to those. There was a little bit of an unfortunate lull in the productivity of the concrete work recently during this time frame, so it's kind of pushed things back. There was a tentative paving date of last Wednesday, the 12th, and the addition of additional delays in that. We can't really predict the paving as of today, but they have hired an additional concrete company, and that's proved to be timely, so we're hoping we can catch up. Going forward, the concrete curb and gutter crews were working on Catherine this morning, trimming the edges in preparation for curb and gutter. They should be pouring that real soon, maybe even tomorrow. Other areas where mainline curb and gutter remains are Olive Avenue, 5th Street, and Union Avenue. And then there's a few instances of hand pouring of radiuses, valley gutters, shorter curb and gutter stretches that need to be tied in. These are miscellaneous locations. Some of those would be intersection of Chicago and 7th, 5th and West, Northwest 8th and Chicago, just to name a few. And then work will also continue on missing sidewalk areas and driveways scattered throughout. As far as paving, like I said, I don't have an exact schedule to provide tonight. The phase 2 project across town is scheduled for paving this week. It's my hope that the contractor, Seal Pros is the contractor, paving contractor for both projects. And so it's my hope that now that they have mobilized the town, that they'll want to stay here and maybe be able to do some asphalt paving later on the day, Friday, and into this weekend on this project. But I don't know that for sure.
What are the temperature ranges?
Yeah, 40 and rising is what we need to pave. So Thursday and Friday look really good for that. The weekend looks really good. We have a day there where it could even reach 70. So it'd be nice to be able to strike while iron's hot. Frankly, our good days of paving are nearing an end. So it's doing impossible. The photos on the next page kind of show the typical status of the streets. The left shows areas that there's just a few tie-ins to do and most of the base course is in. And then the photo on the right is showing Union Avenue, which is just at the subgrade level, and they'll install base course and eventual curb and gutter and paving. The last project on the next page is phase 2. Progress on this project of late in the last 2 weeks has been continuation of road preparation and installation of base course and concrete curb and gutter on Prairie Avenue between 3rd and 5th and 7th and 9th, as well as flat work installation on miscellaneous other areas. That flat work includes curb tie-ins, driveways, sidewalks, billets, things of that nature. They had completed all the utilities in the 2 weeks prior to Weston giving the last update. So a lot of those utility installation crews were able to fall back and help out the concrete crews, and that's helped a lot. This is of course dependent on the weather as that specification is 40 or above, but right now the forecast supports being able to pave all day on Thursday and Friday. And I'm not certain if they'll pave the bottom 2 lifts for the entirety or whether they'll go in sections and pave the bottom and the top and do a different section after that. So that'll be up to the contractor to determine their sequence of operations, but either way, we do believe that asphalt paving from 3rd Street to 9th Street will be completed at the end of the week. So there would just be a few ties that would remain and then the miscellaneous concrete. And that's where they'll put their resources into the concrete first. I've asked them to prioritize sidewalks first, then driveways, then the dirt work and seeding. And so that's the plan moving forward. The last page shows the work done on Prairie Avenue. Has been most of the activity has been on Prairie. You'll see the blanketing of the concrete in that top left picture there. That's to protect and allow it to cure properly on these cold nights. Anything 35 or lower needs blanketing on it. So that's been the norm lately, for sure. With that, if anybody has any questions or comments?
They did say as long as the temperature stays up enough, they will work on Saturdays too.
Yeah, that's right.
Try to keep moving forward. So. Questions or comments? Thank you, Ryan.
Yep, thanks. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. All right, do we have any public comment? Okay. Under announcements, we'll have budget discussion, special meeting Monday, October 24th, 4:30 p.m. for the public. And then our next regular commission meeting will be Monday, November 5th, November 7th, 5:30 p.m. So on the 24th and that, we will have the budget meeting and then move on to the next regular meeting on the 7th. If there aren't any questions in that, do we have a motion to go into executive session?
So, second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same signs. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Yes.